everyone. Hello, and welcome back. This episode of the Designer's Den, I am super excited to be talking to a longtime friend who apparently has never been on the show somehow, Jay Domingo, and we're going to be talking about a game today by the name of Mystic Punk, which, if you haven't heard of that, first off, how? Second off, go check it out now. And as for why, we're going to get into that. So, Jay, thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? Who are you, and how'd you get involved with Mystic Punks?
Hi, Jenny. Thanks for having me on your show. Yes, longtime friends. I think we go back. I mean, I guess I started doing MomoCon and doing D&D with you and Paige. I think Paige and
Yeah,
Ben,
I
all
feel
those
like it
guys.
was like 2017 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm I'm from Athens, Georgia, and I've been playing games somewhat recently, but I was always been like a big comics fan, which we could talk about later on. Mystic Punks is a game that started in 2016, I think. I think that's the year that we're giving
Yep,
in interviews.
created by Anthony Maloro in
Yeah,
2016.
that's right. Okay, so Tony made the game in 2016. He was just it was like a DIY solo RPG zine that it was like an outcropping of his own artwork. It just turned into like the comics scene, and he was doing a lot of small press conventions. But anyway, around the Google Plus days, it kind of got big for a little bit for a
Ooh, the
certain
Google
circle of
Plus
people.
days.
Yeah, Google Plus days, so it's somewhat infamous. And I think some of the early stuff goes for like $200 or something like that, like for pieces of saddle stitched paper. That's pretty funny. But yeah, so I had been running DCC and D&D in Atlanta, and he actually turned me on to DCC and like all the weirdo gonzo RPGs. And we started talking because we went to graduate school together at Ohio State in the early 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s. And yeah, so I loved the aesthetic. I loved everything about it. I just was like, can I play it as a group? He's like, I don't know. So I just basically harassed him until he allowed me to jump on board. And so my contributions to Mystic Punks is like just basically a rewrite of the rules, a revision, reimagining, in order so it's playable at the table. And it was kind of geared toward my own practice
Hmm.
of game running and like what would be ideal. I mean, it's not a heartbreaker, but it's certainly geared toward people who run games and trying to make it exciting and fun, but still appeal to my own aesthetics, my own interests. So did I answer that? Did I answer all
Yeah,
the questions?
yeah, you answered so much there. And I just want to kind of back for a second to some of the press copy that I got for this game.
Yeah.
About it started as a limited run, like you said, a photocopied solo play RPG zine that found its niche with lovers of gross monsters, trash horror movies, and comics. And I just want to say, the first time that you handed me this, which was the Quick Start Guide in I think 2018, maybe 2019 even.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it had to be
I
2021 because it didn't come
I
out
don't
till.
know. Time is time,
Yeah.
Jay.
We don't count those 2 years that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah, no. It was definitely before the No, I don't know. Maybe it was after. I don't know.
Well,
Who
it didn't
knows?
get published
2021.
until 2021, so it had to be after that.
Well,
So
then fine.
okay.
It must have been 2021, but it feels like it was at least 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But you handed me that, and the
Even
first thing that I thought from the Quick Start Guide was, gosh, this looks like a comic book that some of my friends would love. And then I opened it up, and it was not a comic book.
Yeah.
But the artwork was great. Um, and I had already met at that point in time, um, uh, Andrew and Steve from Epic Levels,
Yeah.
and it really just kind of resonated with me that this was kind of the same art style and stuff that they were focusing on with theirs, and how we were really kind of seeing a bit of a renaissance of let's make things as weird as we can, like super fucking weird, guys. And honestly, honestly, that's what got me to open the thing and actually look inside of it. Was I was like, this is gonna be weird. I like that because we had all kind of been through a couple of years of like the D&D renaissance already at that point in time, and I love D&D. Love D&D, don't get me wrong, but it's basic fantasy at its core,
Basic
and
high fit.
it is. It's basic Tolkien high fantasy at its core. Obviously, you can make it whatever you want because it's just a rules system. But like to see something so bold and so colorful and so weird, and so this is the Kickstarter's being run by Exalted Funeral, and I don't know what everyone else knows them for, but I know them for things that have really fucking weird art and
Yeah.
kind of rules light games.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and yeah, so so they started distributing it in 2018. Where that's where they say you came on board to assist with the game mechanics, kind of completely overhauling the game. So in its original state, then, since I don't think I ever saw it as a solo zine, um, I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you haven't really changed like the core of the game as far as like what the point of it is. But what are some of the key differences that you would say are from that original state to now, aside from like you can have more than two people in the game?
Yeah, I get it. Um, well, I mean, one thing I did keep was the core mechanic, which was roll under when you're testing against yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then roll over when you're testing at someone else, and which I think a lot of games use. I think when I first played the game, it's kind of known as a grinder, like it grinds through characters because it's so swingy. So like the character creation was instead of like 4d6 drop the lowest or 3d6 straight down the line, it was like 1d20 for your stat. So you could have like a one as a stat, which didn't really matter that much because it was more based on like modifiers you got.
Mm-hmm.
But for roll under, that was definitely very hard to do. Like you can't roll under a one, right? So
No,
um,
not really.
that's one thing I changed. So and I think that makes some characters more survivable. And the other one is the soulbound weapon, which is kind of like the key characteristic. And the original zine, it was just a switchblade. In the vein of like a video game, you picked up a switchblade, you never, that was your weapon, and it was called
Okay.
the switchblade of Crunkst, I think it was called.
Angst.
And I was like, oh, this is so amazing. How about if you made that part of character creation? So I made it where the soulbound weapon could be anything. So now it's like a tin of Altoids, or like a Sharpie. It could just be anything because ultimately
Or
it could
let's
be
see. In this example, I'm gonna pull up here. We got the punk Don John de Cavalier, and his soulbound weapon is a ridiculously large guts anime sword. I don't know why I'm waving my hands about because you can't see me because I
really
just put the example up over my face, everyone. But
yeah.
like, it's a as you can see, from the character sheet here, like keeping it pretty simple. Like we don't
Mhm.
want to, it's very much while there is numbers and dice involved, very narrative game. At least, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it is. Maybe you wouldn't describe it as narrative, but more as
I
kind
do.
of.
I do. I think I think there's narrative parts. I think that's an important part because I think the stories, especially the stories that we all loved from the like old horror movies, that slasher movies from the 80s, or like fantasy movies that we grew up on. Like we just love the stories.
We just love the stories. Yeah. Um. So starts out here, and I I'm pretty sure that I will be able to at least put up the quick start guide for everyone here when we do this. But it starts out the book with like a little comic, and then what kind of punk are you, right? So you're gonna roll up your new punk, and that's a very quick thing to do. You've got all of 7 steps for character creation, which I love. I love that.
Yeah, in our play test, it was fun. One of the things that people would comment was that the fact that they would die and they would be back in before the next round with a completely new character. So yeah, I think that was the fun part of the game.
And that's got a lot of the hallmarks there of the Dungeon Crawl classics, the funnel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've died. Okay, Cool. It was fun, right? Bring in a new one. Let's see if it happens again.
Just to loop back what you're talking about, the weird and the weird art. I feel like Dungeons and Dragons in the beginning was all about the weird, right? Yeah,
The Errol
Expedition.
Otis and all of that. Yeah.
And I feel like, um, I mean, I don't know how popular OSR is with your audience, but like I feel like that's part of the lineage, bringing
Yeah.
back the weird. Yeah,
I mean,
which
I definitely think like especially now with like the anniversary of everything, and we're seeing a lot of that older art resurfacing. That like, I mean, yeah, that is kind of at the core of these tabletop fantasy games is like being weird. Because I don't know if anybody's ever seen the original drawing for the Beholder, but
I don't know,
I mean, okay, Beholder's a great example because even today, like, that's a weird monster,
it's weird,
honestly.
and like I think even on the cover of like one of fifth edition book, wasn't there like a beholder looking at a goldfish or something like that? Like, doesn't he have a pet goldfish? Like, that's
Yeah,
weird.
I I have I don't have that one on this shelf. Clearly, I've been using it somewhere else in the house, but that's Xanathar's Guide to Everything. And yeah, so you've got the big old beholder Xanathar, and he's just peering at a goldfish. But like, I mean, even with like like beholder's just a weird monster. Like, who dreamed up floating balloon that eats you? I mean, and he doesn't just eat you. First, he
Yeah,
plays with you.
yeah.
Right? And
That,
so, I do really love the kind of the renaissance of getting back to like the weirdness and like um it also really kind of harkens back to like a lot of classic like art styles and stuff like specifically like in my mind when I think of a lot of this stuff you get a lot of the melting like the Dali melting clocks and stuff.
yeah.
And like um weird art is so much fun.
No,
Um it really kind of like opens your opens your imagination, really kind of lets you color outside of the lines, as it were, and really kind of figure out, like, okay, so the armor, it looks like it's kind of oozing and melting, is how I've drawn it. Like, why? How do we want to describe that? Like, what is this? What is this armor? What is this armor doing? You know, well, maybe it is covered in a layer of ooze, and somehow you're immune to it. But like, anyone who gets too close to you is now stuck to you, and that makes it very easy for you to hit them, as it turns out. And weird stuff like that, like think outside of the ordinary. Um, God, I love the examples in this, Mr. Sterno.
yeah. That's actually a real character. Yeah, I took a lot of those from a real character from our playtest campaign. Yeah, Mr. Sterno was a janitor who just has like a Doctor Doom mask on, but I feel like he had his I think his gloves or something were his soulbound weapon. So like, and the other example is like a this character called Val Mal, and it was basically the weapon from Goonies. Data had that little.
Yes.
That's what it was. That's their soulbound weapon. So it can be expressive, it could be fun, but it's open to anything because ultimately it's just numbers.
Yeah.
You could be abstract, I mean, RPGs are an abstraction, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. RPGs are an abstraction. Um, and and yeah, so I mean, like you said, this kind of harkens back to a lot of older stuff. And indeed, it even credits itself as being indebted to old school RPGs from the 70s and 80s. So kind of,
And
huh?
comic, say, and comic books. So
Yes.
like,
Yes, it does. Look, they can only credit themselves to a couple of things on each individual page where they're crediting themselves to things. I've got two things off the website. I've got two different things in my email, and I've got two things from you. Does anybody else like to choose two things? Because you could just pick two, apparently. um, I mean, but I mean, yeah. I mean, 70s and 80s comics and everything. We got some really great stuff. That's where we got the Ninja Turtles.
that's right, the
Uh,
80s.
Yeah. Um and everybody knows their origin. Was going back to one of my favorite words there. Ooze.
Ooze, and the secrets of.
And the secrets of. But
But,
yeah.
I love those old, Eastman and Laird drawings. They're so rough, like, from the first black and white, uh, Turtle comics. They're so rough and quote I'm doing this now, even though no one can tell. I'm doing
No,
quotes.
they can see you
Ugly.
quoting.
Yeah, ugly, right? It's ugly art, but it's something that's unique and just it's provocative and, I don't know, weird. Can we that's the best word for it. It's just
Yeah,
weird,
weird, weird. We like weird. We like weird. We like but yeah, so we like weird. We're all just a bunch of weirdos here. But yeah, so we have currently in the game, we've gone from a solo zine, which was pretty small, saddle stitched, as we say, which is, you know, um,
staple.
the
Yeah, yeah.
correct way to stitch any small book, by the way.
I got it was like
Uh,
this, this is a zine that I found. It's right there.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think all my zines that I have behind me are slightly too big to actually be zines. All my other
Yes.
ones have gotten boxed away.
Here's one I just bought. This is like an OS old school essential zine. So
I mean, I
that's what
guess
it,
technically I work on zines all the time because this is the size
yeah, there you go.
booklet that I work on in my day to day for Epic Encounters. We make
Yeah.
zines, guys. We just put them in a box with a bunch of stuff.
You guys are so punk. Yeah, see, it is. Ultimately it is.
I mean, yeah, weird art and everything. This is
Yeah,
Snake Guy.
got it.
Love it. I love the abstract art on these though.
Mhm.
But yeah, no. Zines are definitely seeing a bit of a renaissance as well. Um, because we've kind of gotten away from wanting um a rule for every single thing. Looking at you, Pathfinder.
Yeah.
um, and
Which is another lineage of RPGs, right? Like the GURPS, the roll master, all that stuff, right? Like let's have something for
yeah,
everything.
yeah, Rollmaster, Hackmaster, like all of that, like that harkens back a bit to kind of more of the wargaming side of it when like you needed a rule for everything because in tactical combat, like without specific rules for stuff, it quickly devolves into pure chaos. Um, I mean, and you see that nowadays with our more modern like Warhammer 40K and all of that, where like there are a lot of rules. Like they're very strict and they're very straightforward and stuff, but like okay, you can't just be like about 5-ish or so inches, maybe 4, maybe 6, like it can do somewhere between this many damage. No, you need to know. You need to
Yeah.
know. Like versus like, that's a tactical wargaming miniatures game and we're playing a role playing game where over here you're like, I mean, sure, I need to know like what are his chances of doing the thing, and like that's where our numbers come in. But like, how do we do the thing?
Yeah.
Um, well, yesterday I did the thing by waving my hands about, uttering some magic, and today it seems that my god has abandoned me. So we're gonna try a different course. Um, and we're gonna try maybe maybe confusing it and then stabbing it or like throwing it off a cliff. It'll talk to me. It will tell me its secrets.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, I love that sort of story first and kind of creative narrative.
Yeah.
But I'm in their defense, and I think a lot of the grognards out there would probably agree is that the old wargaming rules, the reason why it appeals to a lot of people is that that was a way for them to immerse
Hmm.
themselves in that world. It's just another way of doing it, and in their own
Oh
way, it
yeah.
was another way of addressing the story, right? One where they are living this role in this where
Yeah.
like my encumbrance, like this. If I have one too many coins, I can't move very
I mean,
well,
and
right?
it totally makes sense, right? Because like as a soldier on a battlefield going through one of your tactical thoughts is like what gear is most important to me. So like you want to have those encumbrance rules because no, Larry, you can't carry 47 cast iron pans. You're not going to be able to run if we get into a sticky situation. Um
But it
and
was
so like
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
how
would
how
totally have someone try to though because they're like, "But they're precious to me."
precious, yeah. But it was really interesting how like Gary Gygax would take that to the logical extreme with like, what kind of bar winch is there? Let's roll on this table. You're like, oh, okay. It's like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Draw a line from like the type of sword to, like a carousing table, right? Something like that.
Oh
So
yeah, the carousing tables. Those were an extreme example of getting into way too much detail.
yeah, yeah, too much detail and maybe problematic if we if we explore too deeply.
Maybe. I guess all the details that I need on my bar wench nowadays are: can we roll on what is she a redhead, a brunette, blonde? Is her disposition friendly, indifferent, hostile? Like,
No.
what
What
what's her race? Maybe I can connect to her because like she's a gnome and I'm a gnome. You
mm,
know, I don't need to know her
does she have?
proclivities.
Yes. That's
Um,
fun.
but yeah, so kind of getting back into where we're at here with its comic roots. So Mystic Punks does have a bevy of luminary artists from the comics and RPG communities working on it, and Benjamin Mara, Tia Roxe,
Yeah.
Paul
Say.
Edward, and David Hoskins, and then of course all of that wonderful art has been put into a layout by yours truly, if I understand.
Nathan. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
do all the design.
yeah. Which honestly, as anyone who's ever laid anything out, it is a thankless task. So thank you for doing that though, because like you know the job of a layout person is to take all the cool things that everyone has done and put them into a format that people want to read, people can read. Also, but that's obviously like the bit of it. But so we've got our, let's scroll back up here. Our kind of core conceit for the game is that we're playing here in the dark world needs saving from malevolent supernatural threats. And I really love here that it starts out on the Kickstarter page, but sometimes it comes down to the magic gas station attendant, or the mall goth with bone demon daggers, or an adorable Pomeranian wizard. So we
Yes.
really do kind of, just from the get go here, they want to make it clear that we are leaning into the fantastical again. Um, so you can, and here's where we're gonna go into the sales pitch here. You can back this on Kickstarter.
That's
Woo!
right.
Right now.
Live until April 20th.
Yeah, until April 20th. It is live. And I'm gonna get this up quickly so that people have as much time as they get. So you're gonna get a core rule book there, which is based on that quick start guide that
Mhm.
Jay put together back then. It's gonna give you a lot of new stuff, including new spells, bestiary, tome of the dark guide, in case you've never ran a campaign like this. That'll help you get started on running your very own dark campaign. Loot tables, um, new
Campaign.
weeds, new weed strains to smoke out your dank punk.
That's right. Well, one thing that's different about Mystic Punks is that weed is the way that you heal. So
Yes.
now there's a table of strains of Calfarup weed where it gives you different effects. So like I think in the last game we played, it healed you all the way up, but now everyone had like beholder type eyes, like on tentacle, on little.
Yeah.
So
Everyone had all sorts of stuff.
yeah,
Which is super cool. But that does lead itself to like really interesting like accessories. Like I got a dice tray previously that is most definitely
it's a rolling tray.
a rolling tray. It's for rolling, whatever it is that you're rolling.
Yes,
Um
dice mechanicals is what we say.
yes, yes, dice botanicals. You can get your GM screen, which I highly recommend, just because you're never gonna have another beautiful piece of art like that.
Yeah,
And
yes, 5-panel mural basically by Paul Eduard, the Spanish artist, and it's beautiful. I always say it's like the only candidate for me getting a full chest tattoo is that image. It's like 5 panels of punks fighting monsters. It's great.
Yes, and there are a couple of adventures that you could get there. Weird Wanderings Volume 1, The Dark Heart of Zarnix.
Yes, Dark Heart of Zarns was a zine that we did for our free RPG day. That was very limited edition. Now they're reissuing. So
Yes, it was out of print. Aristocrat limited edition adventure, but they're bringing it back. New art, new layout, new edits.
yeah.
Which means it's an entirely new collectible, even if you have the old one. Mystic Punk's patch, some collectible trading cards, and like
Mhm.
all sorts of cool stuff. Like,
I will mention. Can I mention
yeah,
Weird Wanderings is like a the whole idea is that it's a set of adventures that's in 3 parts, and each book will have 3 adventures by different RPG luminaries. And if you don't mind, if I could mention them, it's
yes,
people like
please.
Levi Combs of Planet X Games, very uh, top figure in the OSR and the D&D community. Diogo Nogueira, Brazilian designer. Joel Hines, who does a lot of Mothership kind of work. Hambone McGuire from Vintage RPG. Uh, Epic Levels, Steve Albertson with Dragon Warrior will be there. Among other people, Joey Real, so DCC community going in there. And there's more. There's more coming. So right now we've only announced the first 2. But there's a plan
Yeah,
of
you
3.
just announced ones that aren't even on the Kickstarter page. Congratulations, everyone.
But so there's going to be 3 books coming out eventually. But yeah, it's supposed to be just like the world's worst or the world's craziest road trip. You're just going to place, you know.
Yes, and
Yeah,
that of course, the Goodman Games Dungeon Crawl Classic van,
yeah,
the Shaggin' Wagon, right?
yeah. Get in the
We are
van.
we are going on a road trip. It's gonna be rad. It's gonna be punk, and they're bringing you in the rowdiest and raddest RPG writing talents, and they're flexing those muscles, right?
Yeah,
And delivered like an angry cobra riding a flying tiger. Like the word something here.
yeah.
So if you are looking for hijinks, you cannot possibly ask for a better group of writers there. And if you haven't picked up anything else from any of those wonderful and amazing talented people, absolutely recommend that. Levi, Steve, Joan, it's John Hambone. Try to say both of those at the same time. Um, you know, all incredibly talented. Um, and so that is going to be a hardcover, not technically zine anymore. We've grown beyond that.
Yes.
Uh,
Now we're doing books, but
yeah,
oh,
now
the
we're doing
Weird
books.
Weird Wanderings, which is on the Kickstarter, is going to be once again we love our old underground comics artists, but it's going to be Brian Chippendale from the band Lightning Bolt will be doing the cover for all 3 of those. So pretty
Oh,
excited. I
that
put
is,
that on myself.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a dream team. It's a dream
Yes.
team.
Yes. So, if you want to back that Kickstarter, you can back it for as little as $1 just to let them know that you love them, or you can get all the way up to the $87 whole dollars mark to be a pitmaster. Unless, of course, you are a retail store, in which case they're ready to talk to you too. You could be their retail daddy
That's right.
for only $180.
It's
Um,
pretty cheap. It's cheap. Come on,
that's a
value.
bargain. That is such a bargain. I've spent $180 on much worse.
uh,
but but yeah, um, super excited for this. Um, so you know, long story short here, I know we've covered a lot, we've kind of talked a bit, and we haven't really, talked a lot about the mechanics of the game, but like that's gonna be because again, there aren't really that many. And rather than us going through like the dry and gritty and the dry gritty rules that there are, I highly recommend that you go on to the Kickstarter page, which I'm going to link here, and you can for free download that quick start guide, get a look at the rules yourself, and some of the amazing artwork there. just to get an idea of what you are getting yourself into. And then once you've done that, make your decision on what level you want to back at, right?
Right,
Um,
Pitmaster. We just
Pitmaster.
want
Okay, though, you're probably thinking one thing, but when I think Pitmaster, I think barbecue.
you. All the above. Why not everything?
Yeah, so Pitmaster out there
Elbows.
barbecuing pit demons. It's fine, everybody. They taste a little bit like beef. You really got to get a Kansas style barbecue sauce for them. It's kind of dry. But yeah, so you can do that now, do that today. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it'd make Jay happy, but it would make me happy. But anyways, though,
Yeah,
um,
and tell all your friends to also
yeah,
do it.
yes, yes,
Get your parents to do it and your grandparents. Right right now.
yeah. Just sneak it onto your mom's shelf. She'll never know.
Yeah,
It,
they'll
it
never know.
fits
They'll
right in
love it.
there. Fits right in there with her books. Um, my mom, my mom probably would love the art.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, she
uh,
seems like a cool lady.
oh yeah, totally cool. She's not ready to learn another RPG right now though. She can only fit one in her brain at a time. So we're
Well,
working on
this one instead. This is substitution.
I know, but we don't go to conventions and play. We play. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna get her. We're gonna get her on another one though.
yeah.
But yeah. Let's see. Any other blurb there, right? So. All right. Only other blurb there that I have is that Exalted Press would invite you to dive in and get weird. Which
Okay.
honestly,
Why not?
get weirder, guys. Get weirder, right?
Step up
So
your game.
that yeah. So Jay, do you have any last thoughts that you want to share on this before we wrap it up here today? I know this is quick, Phil.
Oh, no, no, no. Quick is good. I just people just take a chance. It's a great game. The art itself is the biggest draw for me, and hopefully for other people. And yeah, get it from exaltedfuneral.com. The quick start, check it out, and then back at kickstarter.com.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm gonna get all those links for everyone. Drop them into the description below the post where you saw the link about this or wherever it is that you found this. Make sure that you guys can get your hands on this. Excuse me. And Jay, if everyone is looking to talk to you online about Mystic Punks, where can they find you online?
Yes, they can find me on the Instagram at Smoggo, Smoggo. I'm a big Godzilla fan, so hetera for life. So at Smoggo, Smoggo.
Yeah, which is
And
right below his face right now. I did spell it right.
and then you could go to mysticpunks.itch.io for other games, and we'll be putting some more content on there soon.
All right. And as always, everyone, you can find me online at Ginny Loveday on all the platforms. Um, if you have any other exciting games that are coming out that you would like to talk about, please hit me up. Working on getting back into these things on a regular basis, and I'm very excited to share, upcoming things with people and kind of branch out a little from what we were doing before because, as Jay and I talked about today, there is a whole wide, exciting world of RPGs out there to discover. But that is going to be it for today. Head on over to Kickstarter and back Mystic Punks. Until next time, everyone.